are not able to join the meeting. So recording has started, and yeah, okay. Um, somebody chatted me. Okay, so um, um, can people see my screen? If you can, please do a thumbs up. Okay, great, great. Okay, so here, um, pretty much all of our Zoom meetings, this is the same link for all of my Zoom meetings. Please call me on my cell phone. Don't call me on my office phone. I'm not working from the office. ODE is still closed until January 1st. So please call me on my cell phone. If I'm able to pick up, I will pick up. But please feel free to call me on my cell phone or feel free to email me. Some people are still calling me on my office phone, but please call me on my cell phone. And without further ado, we have first on our agenda, Let's Go Learn from Christina. And Let's Go, for those of you that are new to LTCT, Let's Go Learn for about 6 or 7 or 8 years was our assessment tool for JDEP, YSEP, and LTCT. And at that time, the vision was to have a single-wide, system-wide assessment system where schools could search online for their pre and post test, which is a requirement for Title 1D. And that served our purposes then, but then we ran out of time. So I need to work on a new RFP for that, for a new system-wide assessment system. So we have Christina from Let's Go Learn. And Christina, feel free to share your screen. And I'm going to mute myself.
All right, thank you. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining me today and allowing me to hop on your meeting. I just kind of want to go over briefly just some of the top 3 benefits of Let's Go Learn and how ODE has been using the program so far. And I know some of you have been getting emails from me regarding your renewals for this year. As Sam mentioned, the RFP didn't work out this year. So sites are purchasing independently. So I've been reaching out and just checking in about those renewals. But I do want to go over just a high level overview of what we do. I've noticed from talking to different sites that there's different information about the platform, and the knowledge level varies by site. So I just kind of wanted to go over a high level overview and then jump into 3 benefits of using Let's Go Learn. So this is just a high level overview of what we do, supporting your long-term initiatives. So we do have a diagnostic and formative assessments. Our diagnostic assessments allow you to get really granular data on all of your students as they come in. And that way you're able to pinpoint exactly where their gaps are. ODE is also going to have access to formative assessments, which a lot of the sites that are renewing for the year have found to be very beneficial because it allows you to break up that comprehensive diagnostic and give it just in little chunks. So if you've been targeting a certain area with a student, it allows you to get updated data based on just that area that you've been targeting. And so with that, especially as students move from site to site on short notice and things like that, it allows you to get updated, have that progress monitoring without giving the entire assessment again. And as your students are taking that assessment, you'll have actionable data. So the reports are really detailed and granular and showing you not only where the students are, but what are the next steps so that you can really address those skill gaps before they snowball out of control. We also offer personalized learning, which is through our EDGE curriculum. So once your students take the assessment, they'll be given up to 60 lessons based on their own gaps. So those lessons will follow them if they go from site to site. They'll be able to continue on their learning path using their login. All of the data is going to follow them as well. And that will just give them that chance to address those learning gaps. We have won awards for adult learning with our program. So it is really effective in addressing any of those skill gaps and helping the students move forward. And again, with those formative assessments, you're going to have really easy access to progress monitoring, so you can see how our personalized learning is helping, as well as any instruction that your teachers are providing. And then you'll be able to reassess multiple times or use those formative assessments. We do offer a lot of ongoing leadership development and professional development as well. So we can do personalized sessions. I know I've already done a few with some sites in ODE this year, just helping them to know how to read the data. So we don't just like to throw it at you and let you go with it. We'll provide the support that you need as well. And so one of the great benefits is that you'll have easy access to student data. It is, the assessments are valid and reliable. All of the scoring is grade level scoring, which makes it really easy to understand. And it's all vertically scaled, so you can compare it year after year, and you can really pinpoint where your student is and what are those next steps for them. So it gives really specific scope and sequence of teaching steps for you. And again, as I mentioned before, the data stays with the student. So if they move from site to site, it's really easy for you to go in there and see if they've been given the assessment recently, or if you need to reassess for anything. Or you can queue up, like I said, those formative assessments that allow you to break down that full comprehensive. So you're just testing the areas that you've been working in and getting updated data. And again, it helps with that accountability as well. We also really look at providing equity. So standard assessments don't really provide actionable data if the student is multiple years behind. And we know if students have those gaps, they can snowball out of control. But DORA, ADAM, and DOMA do. So those are our 3 assessments, and they are adaptive. They'll move up and down with the student. As they answer correctly, it'll get harder. As they answer incorrectly, it'll get easier. So that way you're able to really see how far behind they are, and you're not getting just the standards, if they're on or above grade level. And that will provide the detailed information for all of the students. EDGE is going to provide that personalized learning for your students as well. And that way you can really make sure that you're meeting all the legal requirements to support every single student. And we're also really great for RTI and special education. Our assessments have really helped teachers in pinpointing where the student's gaps lie so that they can address those concerns before a student is misdiagnosed for special education. Or if the student has special education needs, it also will pinpoint where those gaps are and help address that. And then all of the reports are really great if you're working on IEPs for students. We have a special report that helps you to develop those IEPs with goals personalized for that student. So a lot of teachers have found that it cuts down 50% of their time when they're writing IEPs, because the goals are generated based on their data. And then you're able to use those goals in their IEPs. So it'll write those specifically for your students, and we have proven results in closing learning gaps. So those are just 3 big benefits of using our platform. I know you all have a lot that you need to cover today, so I don't want to take up too much time. But if you're interested in learning more or would like a quote, we do pricing based on just assessments, or if you wanted to combine assessment and instruction, we are giving special pricing for ODE right now. So there's my email. If you would like further information or to set up a demo, we can always do that. I'll also chat my email or I'll type my email in the chat box so that you can reach out to me, and I'll be reaching out to you all as well as we go forward with the year. But thank you so much. Are there any questions before I hop off and switch or give it back to Sam?
Christina?
Yes.
Hi. One of some of the feedback that I've gotten from the classroom teachers who are serving students with behavior and emotional challenges is that the students tend to be somewhat behind grade level because of the gaps in learning due to emotional blah, blah, blah. Okay. And so you could have, say, a 6th grader who's maybe doing 3rd grade work. The comment that I get from a lot of the teachers is that the students say they don't want to necessarily use Let's Go Learn because they think it's babyish. And I'll translate that to mean some of the graphics appear to be juvenile for older learners who are doing lower level, primary grade level work. So I'm just passing that along as feedback to whoever designs the program. The teachers love what Let's Go Learn does, but the students are reluctant to get on it because of the reason that I just said. So for what that is worth, I thought I'd pass that along. And I don't know if anybody else has gotten that feedback from their teachers as well.
I appreciate that feedback. And actually, one of the things that we like to emphasize is that the the voice, the way that the narrator talks and those songs and the animations, that's actually consistent from kindergarten through 8th grade. And the reason behind it is because of how effective it is, just the intonation of speech and the songs and really reinforcing the vocabulary. And so one of the things that we like to tell those older students that are receiving those lower grade level lessons is that we actually won the Barbara Bush X Prize for adult learners. So it is an effective program. It's not meant to be babyish. The way that it's presented is meant to address different learning styles and make sure that you're actually understanding the content. But thank you for the feedback. I do appreciate that, and we'll pass it along as well. So.
And Christina, somebody in chat put
Yep.
I don't know if you're able to see the chat. Are you able
Yeah.
to see the chat? Okay.
I can
okay,
see
thank
that.
you.
Some of them struggle with it as well. They won't use it. Okay. So yes, that is something, again, I think it all comes down to letting the students know why they're using the program and really communicating that in advance. Another thing that you have available with our platform, it will give them the EDGE lessons automatically, but we are also linked to Khan Academy. So if you wanted to pull in Khan Academy lessons, you can do that. And we do have some training on that. So if you'd like more information, I'd be happy to set up some time. And that way we can train your teachers on how to create those custom assignments where they're linking in the Khan Academy videos that are more just straightforward YouTube videos. So. Great. Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for taking time to meet with me today. I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen. And like I said, I'll put my information in the chat box. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to help and to get you those quotes if you need them or if you just need more training. So thank you all. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Christina. You too, have a good day. Beth, you're next. And Beth, you should be able to share your screen.
Perfect. Thank you. Give me just 1 minute so I can rearrange and see all your lovely faces as well. Okay. So hello, my name is Beth Blumenstein. I'm the Senior Strategist for Well-Rounded Learning at the Oregon Department of Education. And I'm here to talk to you today about a program that we have called the Well-Rounded Access Program, or WRAP, because of course we love giving things acronyms. So to give you a little background, we received a 5-year, $9.8 million grant from the U.S. Department of Education to increase STEM, STEAM, and arts access to students across the state. With that, the focus is on increasing well-rounded access. We've limited the scope to STEM and STEAM and the arts, but well-rounded was sort of the definition in broad of the grant. So just wanted to go over real quick what that definition means, because well-rounded can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different folks. But essentially, while the federal ESSA Act defines a well-rounded education to include a wide variety of subjects and areas of study like PE, art, music, etc., Oregon actually went through an ESSA project a few years ago where we defined well-rounded education to go beyond those core subjects and actually looks at what students take into the essential knowledge and skills students are learning in those courses. We know that a well-rounded education provides the knowledge and skills to live, learn, work, create, and contribute. And it also ensures that each and every student is known, heard, and supported, which I know is a lot of the work that goes on in the LTCT programs. But just as we move forward, when we're talking about well-rounded, we are limiting our scope to STEM, STEAM, and the arts for this project, but we're looking beyond those specific course topics and really delving into what is being taught within those courses. Also, it's a well-rounded courses access grant that we received. So there's a lot that goes into well-rounded. There's funding, there's law, there's collaboration with other organizations, but this grant specifically supports courses, course access structures, and then communication around the benefits of well-rounded education. So just wanted to bring that into our scope as well. We received this grant in October 2020 and were given a planning year. Within that planning year, we were really focused on what it means to give access and not just availability to students. So when we're looking at that, it's really an equity issue. We're looking at who our engagement partners are, what table are we at? What table are we going to? We did a full needs assessment that we're in the process of finalizing at the moment to look at which students do not have access to which courses. We're going through an evaluation process as well throughout the 5 years of the grant to really determine why students do not have access to certain courses. And then as we're developing courses, we're looking at how students see themselves within the content that they're receiving, and are all students receiving high quality options. So as far as the grant intent and requirements, it should be a program that increases course access to well-rounded courses, period. That's like the basic definition of this grant. The program should complement rather than duplicate existing efforts. And any student in the state should have the opportunity to request access to courses. So when we're building courses, we're really trying to make courses available for public school students, private school students, homeschool students. Everyone in the state should have access to whatever we create. So we're looking at creating things through Oregon Open Learning, open licensing resources, those kinds of things that anyone has access to. We developed 4 key strategies to really move this work. The first one is to partner with STEAM hubs, higher education, and CTE to leverage what they're already doing and expand upon it. The second one was to hire an arts education specialist. We didn't have one at the department, and so through this work, we were able to hire one to really bring the arts back into focus in some of our content areas. A third strategy is to utilize Oregon Open Learning and Oregon Digital Learning. Again, I mentioned Oregon Open Learning briefly on the last slide. When the pandemic started, ODE put up this platform called Oregon Open Learning. If you're not familiar with it and you want to be familiar with it, let me know and I can connect with you afterwards, because it's an amazing platform where all openly licensed resources are available, and it's a collaborative site. So folks can go on and add content, they can edit content, they can translate content. It's actually a really great site for all of that. It's still in its infancy though, and so there is not a lot of content there yet. So we're really sort of building up that platform, and with this work, whatever we create, we're hoping to have on that platform. Oregon Digital Learning, some of you may be familiar with this. It's currently a program that allows districts and schools to get 1 or 2 courses for some of their students online where they may not be able to teach that course otherwise. So for example, we see a lot of students taking Algebra 1 if they're not able to fit it into their schedule, or Spanish if they can't get a Spanish teacher available in their district, a lot of those kinds of things. We're hoping to leverage that opportunity again, so whatever we create online content-wise, we'll have a platform to be able to deliver that. And then last is to engage in a competitive procurement process. So whatever we're unable to do in-house or through our partners, we can put out an RFP for and do the content that way. Throughout this process, again, we're doing a lot of community and education partner engagement, which is why I'm here with you today to really learn from you. I have some questions to ask after this about what your needs are, what the barriers are for your teachers and your students, and what some of the highlights are that you already do that maybe we can share across the state. We're also going through an evaluation process. So we're right now in the process of contracting with an evaluator to help us throughout to determine exactly where we need to move to make this work effective. So big picture timeline, again, we had a planning year until September 30th. And during that time, we've got our positions filled at ODE. We did a lot of information and data gathering, and we started building out this 4-year plan of what the rest of the 4 years is really going to look like with this work. So this year, we're going to use our needs assessment, share that out with everybody as soon as it's finalized, it's almost there, and then really use that to build out what the next 4 years are going to look like, hoping to have that done in this first part of the year here, and then start selecting courses and setting up course access structures and building a communication plan as well. And then in years 3 through 5, we'll implement new courses and access structures, do continued outreach and ongoing evaluation and data collection. So what this really looks like is by next fall, we're really hoping to have some of the courses that we've gone through in this process available to everybody. So questions for you. And I'd love to just spend some time here having kind of a communication back and forth, but 2 questions. How do the LTCT programs currently incorporate well-rounded opportunities that may benefit as a model for schools or districts around the state? And 2, What are some of the barriers or challenges to offering well-rounded educational opportunities for students within LTCTs? So feel free to unmute or type in the chat about either of those questions.
Beth, my question would be, are these classes that are going to be potentially available in the fall, will they be online can you explain that a little bit more, please?
Sure. Ultimately, we're hoping to have courses that are in person and online. They'll vary. Right now, we're looking at computer science courses that'll probably be in person, but curriculum available online for teachers. And some science courses, high school level science courses that would be available potentially online by the fall. It's going to go beyond that, but that's all we've selected so far.
So a follow-up question to that, for the ones that are online or the ones that are in person, what kind of instructional materials would ODE expect for these separate sites to have on hand? You know, every LTCT site can't have a chemistry lab, for example,
Right.
you know, that kind of a thing. So I'd be interested to know a little bit more about that. Maybe it's going to be kits that get checked out or something.
Definitely. So when we look at online courses, I know we're definitely thinking about what students have access to within the home. And if the content has something a little bit more advanced that a student might not have, you know, a thermometer at their house or something like that, that a kit would be provided. We don't know what that's going to look like just yet. We're still building that out, but we are aware that at least in the online setting, that's difficult. Now, I'm hearing from you that that might also be difficult in the classroom. And I want to confirm, is that an issue for a lot of LTCTs that they may not have a chemistry lab or materials available in that regard?
Yes, that's true, because we're teaching all grades, all subjects, and so there's just so much to cover. The other thing that can be a challenge is that some of the materials and items that may be used for the courses may not be accessible to the students because the materials and items could be self-injurious. And so we have to limit some of what the students have access to. But it sounds very interesting and promising.
Okay, and I see some comments in the chat here. The treatment portion of the program often limits what we can do outside of our classrooms. Jasper Mountain has brought on 2 U of O professors of music as volunteers to teach children how to play tabletop harps. That's amazing to know. Thank you. How will licensure requirements for high school level be addressed? Will it require teachers to teach under the licensure area? Definitely something we're thinking about. CTE also has a lot of that, where there are CTE specific teacher licensure programs to make more industry courses available. It's not within the scope of this work, so we're not going to address the TSPC licensure issue through this work, but we are aware of it, that it affects the courses and curriculum that we're developing. We are also limited in our time available due to focusing on the basic foundation skills, reading and math, with the time that the kids are in our programs. We also have other ODE required coursework that increases every year. Thank you for sharing that. We have heard from folks we've engaged with, don't give us anything new. We can't do anything new. We're in the middle of a pandemic. We have all these requirements already. So our goal really is to do things that are better rather than things that are new. Incorporate what you're already doing. That's a more complex issue. And so if anyone has great ideas about how to do that and they want to share with us, please schedule a one-on-one with me and let me know, because we do want to learn from you all what works best in this kind of situation. And then there's another one here. Are there self-paced recorded modules, or will all coursework be in person, lifetime, virtual? We haven't decided yet. So I don't have an answer to that yet. What would work better for you, I suppose?
This is Kate. I did ask that question. I can't say that I have a specific answer to that per my staff, but I just imagine that because, you know, others have also indicated that there's so much going on, that we would want accessibility, but not necessarily be able to do it at a very specific time during the day. So that's why I just posed that question. It's just something to kind of think about or get feedback on.
Okay.
But thank you very much.
I suppose another request I have, we don't have a ton of data at ODE for LTCT sites. There are some that we receive through state data collections, but not all LTCTs are required to submit to some of these data collections. So if you have anything for your particular location that shows like what students are or are not getting access to certain courses, and you want to share an aggregate level of that, we'd love to have it and just see the data so we know what we're working with. Okay, well, I would love to hear more from you all. If anyone has thoughts that you think about, you know, over the weekend, you want to share with me, I'll go ahead and put this information in the chat so you can access it easier. And I'll put the slide deck in the chat as well. But we have a monthly newsletter or a listserv you can sign up for if you just want to stay updated. We have a web page where we post information. You can see the whole grant narrative there. A shared email inbox for my whole team, as well as my specific contact information there. So I want to thank you all for your time today and this wonderful information you've provided. Yeah, and just stay in touch if you have more ideas or suggestions for us.
Okay, thank you, Beth, for willing to participate and share your grant with us. Okay, so without further ado, and then Beth, feel free, you know, because I know you're very busy, to log off. They have your, and if LTCT people want her contact information, just let me know and I can forward you her contact information. Okay, thank you, everybody. I'm going to start sharing my screen again. Okay, hopefully everyone can see the screen. Okay, so next is the 3 data collections. So what right now is here, we're right now, you should be working on the 3 data collections for the child count. And this is the first. So for each site, please put the number of students enrolled here, and then you fill the top out, and then so this is the first spreadsheet, and then I'm going to show you what I do with the data from last year. And from last year, I compile all the data into this spreadsheet. I list all the LTCT sites. I put all the dates here. I mean, at the dates and the counts, and then I arrive at the date that had the highest count. And that date last year was May 20th. And so that's the count that is submitted to USDOE. Okay, and then step 2 was, and then step 2 is, and of course, I'm not going to share what everyone submitted last year because it has, so then from the date that is selected, you know, then you would list the student's name and the SSID. It's so that a kid like Isaac, and I always use the name Isaac and Irene because those are the names of my kids. Isaac is not counted either on another LTCT site or JDIP or YSIP site because, of course, the feds are not going to allow Oregon to double count. You know, so that's why step 1 is, first of all, I need to know what's the date of your highest count. And then once that date has been identified, then I only need the names that were there on that specific date. I don't need the names of NSSIDs on all 6 counts. You know, I just need that particular date. So that is a child count that you should be working on shortly. And here is the blank CSPR that I know a lot of you hate it, but it's a federal report. And then so forth. And then these are the questions, the demographics, you know, and then so forth, and the outcomes. And then from there, I do this, which is painstaking too for me. I get all the responses and I compile it into this master spreadsheet, and then I tabulate it. And then if there's holes or if there's anomalies, if the number of total unduplicated doesn't meet the, you know, there's checks that will tell me, hey, something's not right, and so forth. So so those are the two, child count and the CSPR. That is what you should be working on right now for the spreadsheets. Does anyone have any questions on the two data collections? So hopefully that makes sense. We have step one for for the child count. I need to figure out what's the date that we're going to select. And then step two is I have to ask you for the names and the SSIDs. And that's the child count. And CSPR stands for Consolidated States Performance Report. So, and a lot of you that also have federal, you guys are used to the CDPR, Consolidated District Performance Report, and that's different. So, does anyone have questions on the Title 1D data collections that we're working on right now? And in February, when we have our February meeting, I'm going to talk about our major one, which is the minimum staffing data collection, which entails the number of classrooms, the teacher salary, the EA salary, and so forth. I'm not going to go into that because I don't confuse people, but I will talk about classrooms and ADM later. So does anyone have any questions on the Title 1D collections?
Sam, I just wanted to verify that on the dates, the 6 dates throughout the year, it looked like the 2 in May are just 1 week apart. Wanted to verify that that was intentional.
Yes, and that was the thing. I had to select, and that's the thing. That's a good question, Todd, because for the federal law for Title 1D allows for subpart 1, and subpart 1 is state operated, subpart 2 is locally operated. For locally operated, for those of you that run other subpart 2, you have to select a 30-day window with at least 1 day in October. That's what they call the October caseload count. That is separate. For subpart 1, for state operated, Adam Henning for YSET and Sam Cole for LTCT can select the date that for as long as it's from January 1st to December 31st of 2021. So when I had a hard time deciding, what date should I pick? And when I looked at previous year's date, the month of May were pretty high, compared to like February. You know what I mean, right? So and then I had to select the date in October and November. So that's why. And then I selected dates that are pretty high, and yeah, and with COVID, the counts are just going all over the place. So yes, Todd, it was intentional because I wanted to select dates when I thought that counts would be the highest. Yeah. Any other questions? And hopefully that explains why we select 6 dates. And I didn't want to select like 15 dates and then inundate you guys with so forth. Okay. No other questions on. Oh, I'm sorry. I should look at the chat. Okay. So the due dates are in the email. I believe the email. And then the email was also here. The original email came out on October 18, and here the due dates and the steps, and then it was also part of the reminder that I sent out yesterday. Yeah. So, and I try to normally do that, so because I know you guys are super busy. You guys are inundated with emails, especially me. I know I email a lot. Sorry, but then yeah, I kind of do that so that it's all there. Okay. Other questions? And remember, there's no there's no there's no silly question or anything. Okay, so without further ado, and then I put this before our OD updates because this was requested by some of your colleagues. Space and time for other LTCT sites to ask other LTCT sites questions on how things are going or whatnot. And I'm going to start it off. And then I'm going to start off with, I fielded a lot of, well, number one was the Menstrual Dignity Act, and I'm going to talk about that. But our number two, the number two calls or emails that I've gotten was based on, I believe, Senate Bill 710. That did not impact education, but it impacted our day and residential treatment providers where they were restricted on the types of holds and restraints that they can use. And so that was like, that would be like the number two or number three emails or phone calls that I received. And the other third would be, I hate to say this, but staffing shortages. You know, a lot of players, a lot of people, not just school districts, but our mental health providers. And then, yeah, they're just struggling. We're all struggling. And even my, yeah, my wife's place of employment is struggling too, and so forth. So, yeah, so now's the time for me to be quiet, and everyone is unmuted, and feel free to either via the chat or voice ask questions of each other or share.
Sam, I had one quick question. I am new and people probably haven't seen me before, but do we have a directory of all of us in this group just so I can kind of, you know, if I wanted to reach out to anyone in particular later, I would have a reference point?
I do. And I can send that out. And then, and it's a Google Doc.
Okay, great.
It's a Google Doc. Drive. But I can update it. I can send it out.
Okay, and that's, I mean, you don't have to put it that, you know, it's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
so
Has all of our-
critical. I just, thank
It
you
has
very
all-
much.
Yeah, I
Okay.
do. Yeah.
Okay,
I shared it out previously. I can share it out again.
thank
Yes.
you.
I have a question. With a new high school at the Bend site, just wondering what people use for the pre and post reading and math assessments for middle and high schoolers.
We're using maps right now. And this is Kathy Wright from, I'm in Corvallis Children's Farm Home. So we are doing that right now. What are you using? What is everybody else using?
In the Medford area, we're using Let's Go Learn for the K-8 folks, and I'm forgetting what we're using at the middle senior high level.
I have a question. This is Candace from the Child Center, and I hope I am not jumping into your question about the testing, but I want to know if anyone has come up with some solutions for teacher staffing if you're using the emergency sub, or had any luck with any other kind of creative ways to staff your classrooms for lack of teachers.
This is a quiet group. I'll just talk again for my site. That's a silver lining of the census being so low, is that for my high school program, I've been lucky because I have teachers that are endorsed in multiple subjects. So we've been kind of patching the holes where they're filling in for each other, which has worked. And then I am super fortunate that I have 2 subs in my local area that have come to my rescue. And then if nobody's available, I'm subbing. So I go into the classroom, which is not good for kids, but nobody's died yet. So I haven't hurt anybody. But that's kind of how we do it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everybody. And I'm gonna share my current list of LTCT sites. If people could double check that I have the correct information. And of course, for Southern Oregon, I have to put Diane here. I had the pleasure of meeting Diane like last week or the other week. So, yep. So here, double check, and then please check your names. The reason I have to say check your names is some people have changed their names recently and so forth. And then yeah. Um, yeah. Okay. So without further ado, I'm gonna continue on. Unless people have other questions. Next, Menstrual Dignity Act. We're going to hopefully there will be a fix or like a language inserted into the Dignity Act for our programs, because yeah, it is challenging. So rest assured, some language has been suggested, for the Menstrual Dignity Act. And for those of you that missed out, it's where all facilities need to, all schools, regardless of site location, in both male and female restaurants have to have menstrual products. Yeah, and then so forth. Yeah. Oh, and then here's a question. I did this. People are asking where could they get safe products and so forth. So when I first heard about it from our juvenile justice Bob Barker, I said, "You Bob Barker, the MC on the game show?" No, no, no. It's Bob Barker Industries. So they have products where detention and correction facilities can purchase that are supposedly safe. And they have clothing, uniforms, jumpsuits, court clothing. They tailor towards, you know, um, our type of students, where so that things are safe. So their website is barbarker.com and so forth. So I'm not doing like some people ask, oh, where can we get certain things? And then that's one site that I normally go to. Okay. So, so that's that. Okay. So then yesterday I sent out this email. Yeah, I got quite a bit of responses, which is good. And tell me when you guys can see this email. Okay, so I sent out the ADM that I got and the number of classrooms, and this is how I get my ADM, because I know some people are here that have data. So this is my district OD website, just like you guys. I click the LTCT consolidated collections. Then I go to reports. Then I click cumulative ADM, and I select first quarter 21-22. Then I click present district, and then here's all the ADM for all of our sites. Like here and so forth. And so forth. So I normally go to the end, and here at the end, it's showing our 371 ADM. And then that kind of, ooh, that kind of So that's all of our ADM for all of LTCT, like, you know, the LTCT district. That's it. Okay. So that's why I said, you know, and I'm missing, like, they're not here, like next door and Olala's not listed. So they haven't submitted ADM data. So all of you have this email and the number of classrooms. Remember when you report your ADM, the resident district should be the LTCT 3559, resident school is 3559. Attending would be your school district or ESD institution, and the attending school would be your LTCT site. And tuition type F, which stands for fully paid. Okay, so you all have this email that I sent yesterday. Showing the ADM and the number of classrooms. So yeah, our ADM is kind of low. Does anyone have questions on that? No? Okay. No, and feel free to chime in. Next on our agenda is hopefully all of you or some of you, hopefully because this had to come from ODE's official email list, not from myself. This is an opportunity for and it's just not for JDEP, YSF, Possibles, LTC. It's for a whole wide range of people to provide input on ESSER 3. You know, on who, you know, and as the email states, so it'll be on November 17th. So you have to register and click here and so forth. So, yep. So you can provide, this is where we provide information, a state plan, and review and so forth. So this is an opportunity for people to ask and to provide input on ESSER 3. As of right now, our programs receive a small amount of ESSER 1, but a larger amount of ESSER 2. But like I told everyone before, ESSER 3 has still to be determined. And this is an opportunity. Yeah. And it might have gone to, like, for instance, the child center, that email might have gone to Brian Magert because he's our contractor. It may not have gone to you and so forth. Just like for Children's Farm Home, it would have gone to perhaps someone at LBL ESD. It would not have gone to Rich Blum, you know, and so forth. I think. Okay, so and feel free that if anyone have any questions on anything. Next, I know some of you are very frustrated. I have to apologize again, but hopefully within 2 weeks, our agreements will be sent out, you know, with your amounts and so forth. So it should be coming out shortly. And I am still advocating for expanding the roster of our OD programs. Yep, there's some movement on that and so forth. And then for those that are new, feel free to schedule a one-on-one meeting with me, and I can go over LTCT. And this is the agenda that I normally do. Where's the date? Oh, recent. Like I go over how we funding, our data collections, and so forth. So this is normally the agenda that I run. So for those of you that are new, feel free to send me an email and with 3 dates and times, and we'll try to arrange a time for us to meet. Yep. Are there any other questions or comments? And then I'd like to remind everybody, our funding and the number of classrooms is in the minimum staffing level. It's the OER. It says, and then, you know, 15. Here's the here's basically it. 1 teacher, 2 EAs for up to 15 kids per classroom. 1 teacher, 3 EAs for 15 to 20. Once you hit 21, then you get a second classroom. And then D, staffing levels may vary from this guideline for safety, you know, student and so forth. And this was based on the budget note from 2015 for House Bill 5016, where the legislature mandated us to fund this, and we put it into, and in 2016, we did a report and so forth. Yeah. So That's how we fund our LTCT classrooms. It's in OER and so forth. Yeah. Does anyone have any questions? And I'm gonna stop sharing my screen.
Sam,
Yes, Susan.
my question is, I'll start with some information. In our day treatment classrooms, we're finding enrollment is particularly low the beginning of this year. And I know that funding is based on enrollment from the previous year. For this current year, is it possible that we might, like in a day treatment program where we have 2 classrooms set up, the total enrollment is low. Are we in danger of losing 1 classroom within this school year? And then my second part of my question is, how is this a forecast for what we might expect for next year? If the enrollment stays low, are we going to have to say goodbye to some staff?
Susan, you're asking some very, very good questions, and I know your peers will benefit from my response. And my response is, for right now, your 21, 22 amounts are set. I have no intention of reducing that amount because we don't do that. You know, because of the fact we tell you the amount in February or March. It's so hard for you to for me to mandate adjustments once the school year starts. But that said, Susan Peck may decide to make adjustments on your own. Like, for instance, you have 2 date treatment classrooms, but the enrollment, you're only seeing 5 kids. You yourself, because you are also a public employee, you have to manage public funds, just like with your school district or ESD, continue to have 2 classrooms for 5 kids. So that's where Susan, you on your own can make a determination. I need to have some conversations with my mental health provider to see what's the forecast. Are they really gonna change, or should we reduce, and so forth, because we don't sooner or later, and then yes, if the numbers are 5 next year, for 22, 23, yeah. And I sent out the ADM and the counts because for some people, I wanted you to see your ADM right now, so it's not a surprise like in February or January, because some of you may not be aware, and so forth. But that's a very good question. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. Gives me something to think about.
This is Candace. Is there going to be room for presenting your case when we get near the end of the year if you've been cut for the following year, but you've been able then to bring the numbers up as we expect will happen as the year progresses? Can we revisit that amount?
The answer to that is yes. Yes. And then for instance, like last year for one school district, their number of classrooms were reduced. And I said, once September comes around, let me know what your counts are and let's talk, and so forth.
Okay.
And then unfortunately at that site, the numbers didn't increase, so because what happens is, and then that's the thing, like once in February or March, if your classroom allotment is reduced, then, I'm here for the kids. You're here for the kids. You know what I mean, right? I'm going to state, yeah, the door's open for next year. If you're, if your numbers do increase, which might, because if OSHU is correct, where they estimate by the end of December, herd immunity will be, realized, things might return, and so forth. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, that, and I think SB 710, all of us too are adjusting to that and looking at our wait list and who we will be able to serve. So that's another thing that I hope by the end of the year we'll have leveled out a little bit and have a better handle on that. But that is also affecting our numbers right now.
Yes. And not only
Lot-
that, also the lack of staff. Other people are saying they
Right.
can't bring in people because they don't have the qualified mental health or the qualified support staff to bring in. I'm going to be honest. I've gotten so many calls on that, and so
Yeah.
forth.
I think we're looking at like a triple whammy, as hit us this year. So as we work through those, by the end of the year, hopefully we'll have a better picture, a more accurate picture of what the 22-23 year would look like.
Yes. Other questions or comments?
Hi all, this is Karina from Portland Public. I just want to reiterate what others have just said is that, there's a lot of worry around what's going to happen to programming for next year based on low enrollments this year. And so I just want to think together as a collective, like how do we move that message as the state budget moves forward? So we know that we really feel for our mental health agency partners, and their staffing issues are incredibly real and keeping it in are one element in keeping numbers low. So I would just like to think together about how do we continue to message that, and to who do we need to message that, and what's the timeline for that, so that we don't all get hit with next year's reductions in budget.
That's a very good point. And then, so here's a question to everybody. As everybody knows, our funding is based on classrooms. So once the classroom amounts are set, and I'm going to share my screen. This is the spreadsheet that I use. So can people see the screen? If you can, please thumbs up. Okay, good. Okay, so these are the classrooms, the salary teacher and the prorate and so forth, right? Now here's our general fund, state school fund. Now, so our current 21-22 agreement amounts are based on 85. Now, in February, if we send out a amount for like 75 classrooms, but if people are anticipating an increase of classrooms once the school year started, then I have to set aside or reserve certain amount of classroom funding to find sources for those additional classrooms. Otherwise, everyone's amount will go low, because right now, per classroom, I believe is 236,000. That's our statewide average. So even if once all the 22-23 amounts have been sent out, if people say, oh, I need more classrooms, and like, even if it's just 5 classrooms, I have to come up with $1 million. So if people are saying in February, yes, right now our counts are low, reduce our count, classroom amount, but in September, when our classroom amounts come up, we might ask for more classrooms, but then that would mean that fiscally I would have to reserve funding to be able to fund those additional new classrooms. That's one. And two, if we do reduce in February, then you might be releasing trained and experienced teachers, but then you might have a hard time recalling them back once the school year has started. So that is the tug and pull that is existent. And I guess in February, once second quarter ADM comes up, once we have a better picture of our student counts, that will be an important meeting where I will ask people for feedback, and we will have a healthy discussion. Should we reserve some of our 22-23 funds in anticipation of increasing class amount in 22-23? And then the thing about the impact and the recalling of teachers and so forth. Because if you do reduce number of classrooms in the spring, they're going to find other jobs. They're going to say thank you. Rifting process is going to happen and so forth. But so that's why I'm keeping an eye on ADM, on student counts, and that's why I sent it out. Because yeah, I'm just saying, yep. Here's some classrooms, ADM. What I didn't do, which I could have done, was number of classrooms, average ADM. Then that would have been a real eye opener, but I didn't really want to alarm people. Yeah. And I know ADM is undercounted, especially at like Life First Northwest. They're still working some kinks out. They're only reporting 7 ADM for 5 classrooms. That is an underreporting issue. Yeah. Any other comments or questions? So those are some of the things that I have to keep in mind of, and so forth. Because here's who this is, yeah. That's how we, do the funding. Yeah. And remember, I know it's not that much, but you do have ESSER 2 funds. And I talked to with one LTCT site, they said like they were using their ESSER 2 funds to help alleviate some of their staffing shortfalls and so forth. Yeah. Any other thoughts or suggestions or comments? No? Yeah, no, I hate to end it on this downer. No, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But it is what it is. But then it's better, we talk about it now rather than February. It's just what? So now you can, and for those of you now that you can take your time and make perhaps decisions now, because what it is too, what you do also have is for year 1, if you have leftover unspent, you yourself can carry over year 1 funding into year 2. What you can't do is year 2 funding into the next biennia. So that's the thing, so if you like, your 21, 22 amounts are set, if you have leftover, you can utilize that 21, 22 in 22, 23. So some of you could make adjustments, right? And then this is for a lot of us, this is a saving grace. We can deviate from the formula for safety, student characteristics, or treatment needs, right? And not to pick on Sagebrush or their old name, Day Trillium, they're showing 8 ADM. They have 2 classrooms. It's because they're running a K-12 program. At High Desert ESC, I definitely don't want the elementary kids to be with the high school kids. That's where, luckily, it was also in the budget note. The budget note allowed that. Staffing levels may vary for the safety, student character treatment needs indicate the best interest of the students to do so. So that's where, pretty much every February I have conversations with pretty much every single one of you, and it's good that, when I ask, can I visit, you guys say yes, and then I can learn about your programs on how you operate, so forth. So letter D is what is saving us a lot, a lot of our sites. Because of that, we definitely don't want elementary and high school together and so forth. Yeah. Any other questions? And if you don't have this email, or if you're not getting my emails, let me know. And I can add you onto my email list and so forth. Yep. Oh, I'm sorry, chats. Okay, yes, okay. Okay, so if there's no other questions or comments, and I know this is going to happen, happens at all of my JDIP and other email meetings. as soon as I hang up or end the meeting, people are going to email me or text me or call me and say, you know what? That's just the nature of the beast, and I totally understand that. Yeah. So
Sam, on this chart, I don't see sagebrush or
it's
trillium.
right
Oh, there
here,
it is, right
Trillium.
there. Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
because your institution, because it wasn't changed yet, updated. Yeah. So it's your institution ID is 240, and you're showing 280 for 2 classrooms. Yeah, sagebrush. Yeah. But then on my spreadsheet, that's ODEs. But then on my spreadsheet it shows, sagebrush, right? Sagebrush state treatment. Yeah. Yeah. Other questions or comments? Okay. Okay, without further ado, you all have my contact information. And I try to respond, and in a timely manner. So yep. All right, thank you everybody. Enjoy your day, have a good weekend, and hope to see you soon. All right, okay, bye.